This is an area we have to watch very closely indeed. North Korea shipped between 50 to 60% of Russia's artillery shells. These missiles are designed for one thing: to carry nuclear warheads. Welcome back to the Sun Battle Plans Exposed. Today, we turn our gaze to one of the world's most reclusive and enigmatic nations, North Korea. A land shrouded in secrecy, yet with military capabilities that demand our real attention. From its complex history to its ever-evolving arsenal, we'll peel back the layers and examine why North Korea remains a critical flashpoint on the global stage. To understand North Korea today, we must first look back. However, before I start on that, let's look at the geography. North Korea, bordered by China to the north. However, it's got a small border with Russia. Pyongyang, its capital city, is a mere 120 miles from Seoul, the capital of South Korea. In ballistic missile flight time, that's measured in minutes. And there's a demilitarized zone between the two of some 40 kilometers that separates them because the war between North Korea and South Korea has never formally finished. The Korean Peninsula for centuries was a unified entity. But the end of World War II, the dawn of the Cold War, carved a devastating division. In 1945, Soviet forces occupied the north and American forces the south. Ideological differences quickly solidified, leading to the establishment of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Democratic North Korea? No. In 1948, it was led by Kim Il-sung, and the Republic of Korea, South Korea, was formed soon after. The fragile peace, however, was shattered in 1950 with the outbreak of the Korean War, a brutal 3-year conflict that drew in major powers, costing millions of lives and solidifying the division. It ended in an armistice, not a peace treaty, and it left the two Koreas technically still at war. This unresolved conflict is the bedrock of North Korea's militarization. The armistice created a demilitarized zone, or DMZ, as the Americans refer to it, DMZ in English. A 250 kilometer long, 4 kilometer wide strip of land that acts as a buffer between North and South Korea. It is the most heavily fortified border in the world, a stark reminder of the frozen conflict. And despite its name, the DMZ is anything but demilitarized. It's bristling with troops and minefields and surveillance equipment on both sides. Incidents along the DMZ, though less frequent now, serve as a constant reminder of the volatile situation. And we see artillery exchanges into it. We see troop incursions into it. We have South Korea broadcasting pop music and propaganda into the north, and North Korea trying to retaliate in like ways. North Korea's military, known as the Korean People's Army, or the KPA, is one of the largest in the world, with an estimated 1.3 million active personnel and millions more in reserve. This massive force is a direct reflection of its military first, or sun gun policy, where the KPA is prioritized above everything else. This isn't just about defense, it's about projecting strength and maintaining internal control, and acting as a deterrent against perceived external threats. So let's break down some of their conventional capabilities. The KPA boasts a formidable array of conventional weapons, many of them Soviet-era designs, but continuously modified and indigenized. They have thousands of artillery pieces, including long-range systems capable of easily reaching Seoul, tanks, armored personnel carriers, and a substantial submarine fleet. The Special Operations Forces are also highly trained and numerous. We've seen them used in the war in Ukraine. Their basic military skills are very, very good indeed. Their advanced military skills, less so. But they're numerous and pose a significant threat in any conflict scenario. But the real concern for the international community lies in North Korea's weapons of mass destruction programs, particularly its nuclear and ballistic missile capabilities. Despite international sanctions, Pyongyang has relentlessly pursued these programs. They've conducted multiple nuclear tests demonstrating an increasingly sophisticated understanding of nuclear device development. Their ballistic missile program has also made alarming strides. Only 10 years ago, 8 out of 10 relatively short-range ballistic missiles would have failed in their tests. Now, North Korea is producing long-range intercontinental ballistic missiles that are working very well 9.5 times out of 10. From short-range missiles that can target South Korea and Japan, to intermediate-range systems and crucially intercontinental ballistic missiles theoretically capable of reaching continental United States. These missiles are designed for one thing: to carry nuclear warheads, fundamentally altering the strategic balance in the region. North Korea's isolation has naturally led it to seek allies, and 2 major players stand out: Russia and, of course, traditionally, China. Historically, both nations have been crucial benefactors, providing economic aid and at times military support. Even with international sanctions in place, that support has continued. In recent years, these ties have deepened. With Russia facing international isolation over its war in Ukraine, it's estimated that North Korea has from August 2023 to March 2025 shipped between 4.2 and 5.8 million rounds of ammunition to Russia, primarily artillery rounds, 50 to 60% of Russia's artillery shells. Other munitions are provided as well, receiving in return, it's believed, technological assistance for its satellite programs, its missile programs. China remains North Korea's largest trading partner and a vital economic lifeline. While Beijing officially adheres to UN sanctions, the reality on the ground is more nuanced. China views North Korea as a strategic buffer against the US influence in the region, and it is wary of a collapse that could send millions of refugees across its border. That is why China supported North Korea during the Korean conflict in the 1950s. And China is still wary of the US influence that we see in South Korea and the US influence that there is in Japan and elsewhere in Southeast Asia. That buffer is critically important for China. This complex relationship allows North Korea to circumvent some sanctions and sustain its regime. Beyond conventional nuclear threats, North Korea has also emerged as a significant player in the realm of cyber warfare. Now, this is interesting. When you think it's an isolated country, they don't let their people study anything on the internet. They don't have internet access. They don't get the chance to study computer science. They don't get the chance to study technology generally. Literacy rates are quite low. So if it doesn't have access to the outside world, you have to ask where they get their technically and internet experienced personnel from. And when you look at the internet connections into North Korea, it's got 2 pipelines. There's a relatively small pipeline that goes through Beijing that China supplies. It's been there ever since the internet became a thing. But that is relatively low bandwidth. However, about 8 to 10 years ago, the Russian National Railway Company put a very high bandwidth pipeline in. Moscow controls everything that goes in and out through that pipeline. Why a railway company? They put internet pipelines along railway lines across Russia, and Russia's a vast area, and therefore it is just right and proper. They've got experience in doing this. But the 2 countries control everything that goes in and out of North Korea from the internet perspective. And of note, just after Russia's installation of this very high bandwidth internet pipe, North Korea's ballistic missile program became significantly more capable and more reliable. North Korea's state-sponsored hacking groups, such as the infamous Lazarus group, are notorious. They've been implicated in major cyber attacks against banks and cryptocurrency exchange and even foreign governments. And of course, whenever North Korea was getting into cyber, with the international sanctions that were against it, the only way that they could afford their militarization, the only way Kim Jong-Un, the North Korean leader, could afford his lifestyle the way he liked it, was to get money into the country, and that money was stolen from banks and cryptocurrency. If you owned large crypto wallets, you were on the target list for North Korea. These activities serve multiple purposes: espionage, disruption, and critically generating, as I said, illicit funds for the regime, helping circumvent the sanctions and to finance not just its weapons of mass destruction program and Kim Jong-un's lifestyle, but also its militarization and the influence that Kim Jong-un's regime can maintain over the North Korean people. Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, the Kim family have ruled North Korea with a rod of iron for decades. He has got a cult-like status, a god-like status, and you can see this in all of the videos that come out where everything is rehearsed perfectly. Those that are not clapping in time fear for their lives, because he's got this reputation of anyone he disagrees with or anyone that looks at him the wrong way is taken off and executed sometimes in the most horrific ways, put in a shooting range and shot at with anti-aircraft weapons. That is as much to send a message as it is to cause anyone that is potentially showing dissent against the regime what will happen to them. The Kim family, a secretive family, there has been traditionally passed from son to son to son. But Kim Jong-un doesn't have a son, he's got a daughter. And it seems as if at the moment he's been grooming his daughter, developing his daughter to take over from him. There was talk that his sister might be in a position to take over from him if anything happened to him. And she comes into the limelight from time to time, but then disappears. His daughter is becoming more and more to the fore as he brings her to the fore of everything that's going on. North Korea is a traditional dictatorship and is run ruthlessly like a dictatorship. The people that are paying the biggest price for it are the average North Koreans. Poverty is huge. Those that are in power are living a relatively comfortable lifestyle. Those that aren't in power are certainly suffering. So what does this all mean? Now, North Korea, despite its economic struggles, possesses formidable and increasingly sophisticated military capability. Its nuclear and missile programs present a direct threat to regional and global stability. It is, with Kim Jong-un at the head, the plausibly deniable little bad boy with Chinese and Russian influence that is unpredictable across the whole region. Its deep, if sometimes complicated relationships with Russia and China provide critical lifelines. And its cyber capabilities add another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. Again, with the improvement of the ballistic missile capability, one has to ask how many of its missile scientists actually speak Korean, or how many speak with a Chinese or a Russian accent. And again, how many of its cyber experts actually speak North Korean or speak with a Chinese or Russian accent. Rhetorical questions. Understanding North Korea's battle plans isn't just about identifying its weapons, but about comprehending the motivations of a regime that sees its military strength as the ultimate guarantor of its survival. Its big threat, it sees, is the United States and United States influence throughout the region. The world watches, hoping for a diplomatic resolution. Donald Trump was the first US president to cross into the DMZ and set foot technically into North Korea, meeting Kim Jong-un. He's planning another meeting. Let's see what comes out of that. But we're always aware that on the Korean Peninsula, peace remains a fragile and constantly negotiated state. And with Kim Jong-un at the helm, stability in the region relies on him remaining under some form of control. Again, as we theorize and look at the outcomes in Ukraine, should Russia win, then China may be emboldened to try and expand its capabilities into Southeast Asia. That may mean that Kim Jong-un, with his increased finances, with his increased standing that he has with Russia and China and elsewhere, may feel that he's got motivation to try and reunify the Korean Peninsula and might try and attack South Korea. Missile flight time is minutes. If he did that, we could see a conventional war pivoting to Southeast Asia. If Russia loses in Ukraine and we see a breakup of the Russian Federation, then that could stimulate a Southeast Asian pivot. And again, we could see North Korea taking this as an opportunity to try and reunify the Korean Peninsula. This is an area we have to watch very closely indeed. And as we see any changes, we'll keep you updated on Battle Plans Exposed. But thank you for watching. Please, if you've got any comments or you want us to look at any particular things, put them below. Subscribe to get notified when we put new Battle Plans Exposed editions out. And please, pass it around your social media. Tell everyone else that we're here. But thank you for watching today. Goodbye.